Welcome back to the ETF Inspector. It's Friday, June 27th, close to 9 o'clock at night. Probably by the time we finish and get this uploaded, premiere will be somewhere in the 9:30 to 10 o'clock range. Getting real close to that 1,000 subscriber goal. Might hit it in the next day or two, 991. But this will be the video for YieldMax Weekly Paying Funds, ULTY and LFGY. They are the Ultra Option Income Strategy ETF and the Crypto Industry and Tech Portfolio Option Income ETF. And as always, a reminder, I'm on X as well. I don't do a whole lot I don't post like personal stuff or anything like that. It's just stuff pointing back to the channel. So it's either letting you know when videos are available or if YieldMax made a declaration. All right. So let's go ahead and get into things. For starters, you saw the thumbnail. It was a red day. Surprisingly, for how many stocks were in the red, ULTY only went down a couple cents. But as we scroll through, there's very little in the green. And when they were, like Nike, we got out of that. So we're not in Nike anymore. We're not in Vertiv Holdings, Vistra Corp, or RH. So 3 out of 4 of those were some of the only winners in ULTY, and we sold out of it. We'll go a little deeper once we're looking at the papers, whatever you want to call it, spreadsheets. LFGY also went down almost 1%, still right around 40 though, and again, mostly red. So rough day. Let's see how that affected us. So we went to the YieldMax pages. We clicked the intraday trades. Of course, it's Friday. It's the day where everything's got to get closed out and rolled to the next week. So we've got a lot of trades. That's all ULTY. LFG is not quite as bad. LFGY. Sorry if I start talking funny, it might be I had an accident today on my way home from work. It's kind of why I'm running late. My whole day got thrown off. I got rear-ended on I-95. Ended up having to go to urgent care. So not a wonderful day for the ETF Inspector. It was supposed to be an early day home, early night, everything, but that turned out not to be the plan. So, all right, ULTY start. We'll start with ULTY for the trades first. Sorry, I can't speak. Between yesterday's increase in shares, gave us more money to spend. We bought a lot more, not everything, so they selectively bought more. But like we said, we sold all our shares in Nike, RH, Vertiv, and Vistra Corp. All right. Now, AppLovin was first. We closed this week's 345s, opened 355s and 357.50s for next week. Ended up being a win, not ideal, so it ended up a little too close or in the money some, so we paid 84 cents to close them out. But when you're collecting $4 per share, it's still okay. It's still a win, almost $200,000 profit on AppLovin's roll. AST Space Mobile closed our 50s, had to sell 56s for 2 weeks from now just to try to break even, but buying the insurance or the protective put for the shares is what put us over. That's why it was a loss of $291,000. Coin, they had already rolled, so they didn't need to do that, but since they bought new shares up there, they went ahead and started a new position with the options to equal how many more shares they bought. So 7,900 more shares, let them do 79 more contracts. They made almost $4,000 profit on those. So they're pretty much right in the middle. First Solar closed their 152.50s and sold 167.50s and 150s for next week. So the reason you're getting multiples is because, so you'll see they bought the close 621 and they sold 621. But then with the new money, they sold another 321. So this isn't just the roll. This is the roll plus adding on for the shares. So $48,000 loss. So would they pay $415 to close them? So even though they collected $534, basically this turned into the insurance is what put them over. If they weren't covering these on the backside, protecting them or with the puts, then this would have been a profit. But that's okay, because that put protects us. If the share price drops, those go up in value, so our fund doesn't lose value. That's why we're staying in this low sixes range regardless. All right, Robinhood just sold some more options to go with the new shares, $44,000 profit. IonQ, they made out pretty well. They had 40s, 42.50s, and 43.50s. So the 40s were in the money. They paid $1.82 to close them, but the 42.50s and 43.50s cost 10 cents and 7 cents to close, collecting roughly $1.50-ish to $1.65 on all the new sales. Had to buy some puts to go along with them, but overall profit in $611,000. LabU closed out for 9 cents, the $60.50, and opened $61. So we got to roll up and make a profit. Pretty nice, $159,000. Mara closing for 21 cents at $15 and selling, what did we close at? 15 and 15.50. A lot more shares or contracts at 15.50, and then selling at 15.50 and 16, collecting 27 and 22 cents, $322,000 profit. Nike, we closed out. I mean, we own Nike for like a week. So we lost money closing them out, $1.5 million. I did the math earlier, though. We still made over $1 million from the time we bought into Nike to closing out of them. The increase in the value plus the premium we collected on the front minus what we had to pay to close it out. We profited $1 million in 1 week on Nike, so can't be upset about that. Oklo bought the closed 58s for 25 cents, sold 63s for 2 weeks from now, 212 and 245. So nice $315,000 profit. Palantir closing 142s and 148s for 13 and 7 cents, selling 141s, 144s for Thursday. And don't forget, Thursday's only a half day trading, so don't think you can make it till the end of the day. $366,000 profit. Rigetti bought the close, $11.50 for 4 cents. Sold 12s for 2 weeks from now. I'm not sure why they're picking all these 2 weeks. Maybe it's because there's only 3.5 trading days next week, so there's not enough time premium in there. But $400,000 profit. RH. So we talked about it. They sold the shares, but they still opened a new position. So this is interesting. Slightly different, though. So here's your call and put combination that they closed out. So that was a roughly $405,000 loss. But then they bought a call debit spread. So they bought 180s and sold 202.50s. So those are, it's a debit. So this isn't a $1.2 million loss on the roll. It's a $405,000 loss. But then the rest of this $844,000 is them basically placing a bet that RH goes over 180. So the higher RH goes now to next week, 2 weeks from now, on the 11th, the more this will increase in value. So slightly different. It's going to throws off our numbers a little bit. Looks like today was a bigger loss, but this was their investment. They bought this spread in hopes to sell it to close at the end for more money. SMCI just selling more options to go with the new shares, 25,000. SMR, same thing, 39,000. Tempest AI, they closed their 70s for 18 cents and opened 71s for roughly $1.30. Nice $152,000 profit. TNA had to pay $1.17 to close this week's 32.50s. They opened up 35s for 2 weeks from now for 96 cents. So not terrible, but cost us $79,000. TQQQ similarly bought to close the 80s in the money Sold 83s actually for next week instead of 2 weeks from now. Lost 16,000. Tesla, they did well. Closed their 337.50s for 7 cents. Sold 335s and 340s for 550 and 372. $162,000 profit. Upstart put in a whole lot of work to make $3,000. So close these out. 62s were, I guess, in the money or real close to the money. So paying over $2 a share to close them out. Selling 66 for next week. Vertiv is another one that we sold out completely. So we closed our call and put combination, and then we bought another debit call spread. So instead of having a call and a put, they bought the closer call and then sold the further out call. So as Vertiv goes over 115 in the next 2 weeks, the more this will be, the value of this will go up. Same thing with Vistra Corp. They did the same thing. Closed out the call and put. The collar strategy, don't have the shares anymore. Just have an option spread here, a debit call spread. So 170 is the number we're looking for it to go over. And then once it gets to 197.50, then these will stop profiting, and they'll even each other out after that. So we can make, up to 27.50 per share on those. We can make up to, it would be the difference between 115 and 129, so up to $14 per share on those. All right, we don't need to talk about, so I didn't do my usual, on every other day, I put orange over here when they roll them, but this week, basically anything that was closing on the 27th today got rolled. So either there's stuff that was already rolled and you're not concerned with that on a Friday. We can talk about that on the week look ahead and all next week. Or everything else did get rolled. So we're really not concerned with it this much today. So we will move through this a little quicker than usual, just talk about how the underlyings themselves did and keep moving. So we saw they were almost all red. AppLovin down almost 4% to 333.78. AST Space Mobile down 2.5% to 49.36. You can see, though, some of these, basically, today's drops really helped us. Right there with a 345, they had to drop 3.93 to become 3.3% out of the money. So these were going to be a lot more expensive if it didn't close today. But we don't know if they closed things first thing in the morning or if they waited till later. So, we would be able to figure out if we sat there and looked at the prices, looked at the day range for the options, but we don't need to do that, right? It's done. The money's moved. It is what it is. Coinbase lost 5.7%. Now, if you looked up Coinbase yourself, it's odd. Coinbase on this says it went down 4.27, and there were actually a few of them that were like this. I think it was Coinbase, MicroStrategy, and Palantir. The numbers don't line up with what these are, but this is today's closing price, and I verified all those off of there, and these are the previous closes as recorded by the holdings update from YieldMax. So wherever there was some sort of a issue or mistake, maybe some things changed after hours, whatever, but some of these numbers don't line up. So if you look them up, it's not me screwing up. Oh, sorry about that. So we'll keep going. First Solar down 2.25 to 152.14. Robinhood down 1 3/4 to 83.03. IonQ down 2.1 to 40.25. LabU down 2 1/4 to 57.09. Mara down a little over 1.5% to 15.03. Mobileye down about 0.5% to 18.34. MicroStrategy down 0.6 to 383.88. Nike, the big winner for the day, went up 15%. Hurt them on their options, but obviously helped them on their value. So all in all, right, we bought Nike at the beginning of the week. It went up way beyond our sold calls, so we had to pay a bunch of money to close them out. but the amount that we received, the profit made off of selling the original option and selling the shares there at the end was $1 million more than everything that cost us to close out the options. So although they decided to be done with it and it didn't work out in our favor, we made $1 million on that. Call it a loss. Oklo down 1% to 55.26. Palantir, the big loser over here. This is the other one. It said over 10% on one stock lookup, but 9.37 according to the numbers. $130.74. Reddit down 0.65% to 143.01. Rigetti down 0.36% to 11.07. RH, we sold out of it, so we don't care anymore, but down 1.1% to 190. SMCI down 3.43% to 47.58. New Scale Power Corp down 0.1% to 38.20. Tempest AI down 2.66% to 66.52. TNA down up 0.18% to 33.42. I thought this was funny, right? That basically every stock was down, and then the triple leveraged ETFs were both up. Seemed odd, but they were up 33.42, and TQQQ was up almost 1% to 81.42. Tesla down 0.66% to 323.63. Upstart up 0.13% to 63.43. Vertiv and Vistra Corp, we sold out of them. We don't care, but they both were up 2 and change percent, 127 and 195. All in all, we decreased in value by $7.3 million. So when we look at how everything worked out today, trading wise, comes up as a negative $5 million. Value increase or decrease turned out to be a decrease of $7 million. So the only thing, that $5 million loss in trading comes with an asterisk, right? Because we talked about it. There's 3 different stocks within here where we purchased debit call spreads. So the money hasn't been made on those yet. They cost the money up front. You make your money on the back end, which is the opposite of selling calls. You make your money up front, and then you have to close them out on the back end spending money. So hopefully that works out for them. So we'll see. So we will total these up and come up with an estimate on Sunday, along with a week look ahead, where we will now have all the updated, everything will be new and updated over here. All options will actually be the current ones going into the week. And we'll just look at what trading ranges we need everything to stay in for the week. All right, next is LFGY. We'll get through that one a little quicker. So in LFGY, they sold a little bit of everything. I went through, I don't need to read them all to you. I counted it up versus all the holdings. We sold a little bit of every single share of every single stock or ETF that is within this. Underlying, I'll say it, but not a lot, right? 100,000, 200,000, 60,000, nothing major. So the way I've got these broken down, I've only called out the ones that were actually rolls, because other times, like this, for example, BitDeer, we sold shares, and so we had to close out the options to go along with those shares. So I don't need to read you lines like that where we're talking about hundreds of dollars total. So Galaxy, everything's basically been rolled other than the ones I'm going to read you, and then after that, everything will have been rolled. So Galaxy closed their 1950s, their 205s, 20. Hang on. Sorry, my brain's still not working. Yep. Closed their 1950s, their 2050s, all 2050s there. Paying anywhere from 3 cents. Boy, that's rough. We paid 3 cents to close out 2050s, and we paid 46 cents to close out 2050s. But we sold 2050s for next week, 55 cents on all of them. So we profited almost 43,000. GameStop bought to close 2450s for today, 7 cents and 2 cents. That's a nice win. and sold 25s for next week. 54 cents. That's a $66,000 profit. So again, these numbers will sound a lot lower than ULTY, but ULTY is a $600 million fund, whereas LFGY is a $140 million fund. So playing with a lot less stakes, lower stakes. Hut 8 Corp bought the close 180s. Here's another one, right? Paid 3 cents for some and 31 for the other. At least we got those right. The 3 cents went with the 3,600 contracts, so that worked out well for us. That would have been, 10 times as expensive if we paid the other. Sold 1950s and what do we do? Sold 1850s for 2 weeks from now, 69 cents, $173,000 profit. Mara closed out the 15s, paying 31 and 21 cents at the different times, and selling 16s for 2 weeks from now, 36 cents, $73,000 profit. MicroStrategy, this one hurt. Bought the close 385s for $9 and $10, selling 410s and 412.50s, collecting basically $5.50 to almost $6, $108,000 loss. PayPal closing out 73s for today, selling 75s for next week, $6,000 loss. Not too bad. Riot, we closed 10s and 1050s for anywhere from 16 to 47 cents, and we sold 11s and 1150s for 19 cents. $77,000 loss. And finally, Block, or XYZ, closed out this week's 66s, 28 and 79 cents. We got that one backwards. It would have been nice to get the larger pile of contracts at the 28 cents, but sold 68s and just 68s next week for 69 cents. Overall loss of 16,000. And again, some of that comes from buying the call to protect it. So LFGY does not do a collar strategy. They don't buy puts. They either just sell a call and either you win or your loss is uncapped, or they'll sell a call spread, or they'll sell a call and then they'll buy another call further out of the money, and then that difference is the maximum they could lose if the trade goes against them. All right, so after all that, it actually ended up being a profit of $124,000 today. Not much, but at least it wasn't a loss. And as you can see, we're going to decrease in value based off of the value of the underlyings as we go through. If you haven't seen these before, I do not count the buying or selling of shares in our trading option income, because this is an option income strategy fund. The money that they're trying to make for us comes from that. It doesn't come from getting into or out of a stock. So although that may play into it, when I was calculating that before, it was throwing the numbers way off. Nothing was making sense. So I don't consider it. And if you want to, you can run your own charts and do whatever you want. I have had people ask me to share these, and I have no problem with that, except for I don't know how. This is Excel. It's not what's that other Google Sheets, so I don't even know if that's doable. But I wouldn't share it in a way that somebody could edit mine, because I put way too much time into this every day to have the opportunity for somebody to mess something up inadvertently or not. But all right, let's get through these, and then we will close it out. BitDeer went down a little over 1% to 11.09. CleanSpark down 1.3% to 10.67. Coinbase, again, big loser, 5.77% down to 353.43. Core Scientific up 1.77 to 16.65. Galaxy Digital down 2.5% to just under 20. GameStop down 1.2% to 23.59. Robinhood down 1 3/4 to 83.03. Hut 8 Corp down 5.46% to 17.66. IBIT down 0.69% to 60.72. If you haven't seen before, we do not trade options on IBIT. We just have the shares. Mara down 1.57% to 1503. MBTX, we don't keep track of the percentage and the increase or decrease in share value because we don't have shares of it. We just have option spreads on it. So, but they did go down 252.90. I lost my train of thought. I was going to tell you something. Mercado Libre up a fraction, 25.60 and 90 cents. MicroStrategy down 0.66% to 383.88. NU down a little over 1% to 13.25. I remembered what I was going to tell you. So all this down day, especially in ULTY, almost everything down. A lot of things came back down, like out of the money. But the problem is most of the time they're not waiting till the end of the day. So if we were going to have a everything drop down to out of the money day, we would want that on a Thursday. That would be ideal for us, because even if we didn't roll on the Thursday, we would most likely roll early in the morning on Friday and really do well. So when everything drops on a Friday, that kind of stinks for us because we probably rolled before that full drop took effect, and so sometimes things fall out of the money, but we rolled while it was in the money. But anyway, I can't even remember where I left off. You guys probably not that interested anyway. Let's see. Let's just start at PayPal. Up 0.64% to 73.64. Riot up 0.38% to 10.55. Tesla down 0.66% to 323, and Block, the big winner, up 2.33% to $66.33. As you saw on the last screen, we decreased in value by about 2.2 million. Funds worth, like I said, a little over 140 million. There was an increase in shares, 75,000, bringing us up to 3,575,000. That NAV, it was as of the start today, so it doesn't account for all the losses or the decreases. So tomorrow morning's holdings download will become available. I'll plug everything in, and then everything will actually line up. So again, come back on Wednesday. It'll be the guesstimate video where I let you know what I think that they are going to pay out and let you know where everything stands option-wise with the new options that have been rolled going into the new week. I think that's it. If you happen to be somebody who also watches the individual income fund videos that I make, I have decided to start only making them once a week because they trade a whole lot less often, right? They're not paying out weekly. They're paying out every 4 weeks. I don't really call it monthly because there's actually 13 times it'll pay out throughout the year. So, but it just really not getting a lot of traction, not a lot of views, and it still takes hours to put that stuff together. So it just doesn't seem like there's as much of a desire for it. So I'm just gonna put out like a once a week, just let you know how it needs to trade and how it traded the previous week, wins and losses, that kind of thing. So, all right, only thing left, dad joke of the day. So before I do, thank you for watching. Thank you for all the support. I've been getting a lot of comments, people asking questions, asking for more information. So sometimes that's why I'll go into explaining things because I'm trying to answer questions that have been left. And of course, I mentioned the other videos. On Saturday, I also make my trades for the week video. So you can see how I did. You can see if you beat me, most likely. You can make fun of me for making bad trades. I did not learn my lesson last week on Circle Internet Group, so I got my butt kicked again this week. So you can tune in for that. But okay, dad joke of the day. Why did Adele cross the road? To say hello from the other side. I know that was a perfect opportunity to sing. You thought you were going to get it, but not from me. You got to go to Rod for that one. Okay, have a good night. Have a good weekend.